absolutely. I felt a lot of different things, but definitely similar to what you said.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. I'm so sorry about that, guys.
Good thing it's heavily edited.
Oh no.
I have a feeling they're gonna keep that one in.
Such a serious conversation to Lynn ruining it with a call.
As you already know, we're huge podheads here, and we're excited to share that our friends over at Flame Bearers just launched a new season of their game-changing podcast.
Listen to weekly episodes where top women Olympians and Paralympians reflect on their accomplishments, share their trials and triumphs, and discuss what life is like outside the game when the spotlight isn't on.
Check it all out on season 3 of Flame Bearers.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Lynn Williams.
And I'm Sam Mewis, and this is Snacks, where we talk about some personal stuff, some soccer stuff, some real stuff, and some fun stuff. So, Lynn.
Well, some people might ask us why I have this pumpkin in the shop. If you can see us online, I'm holding our pumpkin, which is the one personal thing near...
The legendary pumpkin that Lynn and I have owned since 2017.
Near and dear to our heart. We refuse to throw it away.
It has made many moves.
All the way to Kansas City.
Yeah, and for like 4 apartments in North Carolina.
Literally cups were thrown away instead of this pumpkin. Like essential things were thrown away instead of this pumpkin.
Well, that's how essential it is. Should we get pumpkin tattoos?
Shut up.
Oh my God. I can't believe I just thought of that. Now I have to do it.
Oh, where? Where are we getting pumpkin tattoos?
Can I just cover up my peace sign?
Fine, I'm in. If you can get me a good picture of a pumpkin, I'm in.
We just bring that.
Can you please draw this on me?
Could you please ink this on my body permanently?
This size as well.
We also got some questions about the... Oh, yeah. Thank you for that question, Abby Leah Tobins. And then we also got there was an update requested on the whereabouts of my favorite possession, the herbal doormat. And it's obviously outside my door. Like, where else would it be?
Exactly.
I see it each and every day of my life.
I had to bring it from North Carolina. I packed it in my bag.
I think they know this.
I know. I just wanted to remind people just in case we have new listeners.
Oh, well, if you're a new listener, you got to go way back and listen to everything because Lynn packed me a doormat because she knew how much I loved it.
Well, before you left, you said, this is my favorite thing in the world, so I couldn't throw that away. So I brought it here, and now it's outside our door. This could be our traveling pumpkin. I got it this year, and you get it next year, and then we always just mail it back and forth to each other.
I know.
I love this pumpkin.
Okay. I know.
What's been up? What's been up since the last podcast?
It was my friggin' birthday.
I friggin' know you're 30. Big old 3-0. Dirty 30. Dirty pop.
Yo. Did you know that came next in that song?
No.
They should play it if they have the rights to it because I just literally did it perfectly.
Okay, so anyways, what did you do for your birthday?
Well, my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law came into town. My mother-in-law's birthday is October 7th, and mine is October 9th, so we're, like, kind of birthday twins. Mm-hmm. So we did, like, birthday dinners and shopping, and we went to the park, and we went to pottery, and it was really fun.
So fun. What I was going to say to you was, it wasn't on your birthday, but we went to Corvino.
Yes.
To Moulin Rouge.
To the Moulin Rouge performance, and it was amazing.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was like dinner and a show. There were people dancing. I didn't know where to look. I was like, what's going on over here, over there? Mm-hmm. I wish I could do that. Yep.
It was amazing. We had a great time.
I had so much fun, so thank you so much for inviting me.
Hey. Anytime. Hey, you're officially invited to everything I ever do for the rest of my life.
I know. Usually when it's like, what's been up since this podcast? I'm like, I don't know. We should just combine this into one section at this point because
I know we don't do separate things.
I don't know why people would ever think that.
No,
Okay.
I don't think anybody does. We make the scripts.
Oh yeah, I did put this in. Wait, have you put Finn in the carrier yet? I need to know.
Yes, I did. I put him in the sling one.
Okay, so I got Sam a dog carrier for Finn. So
We'll
she can-
send, Pat took a picture of it. We'll send it to the podcast.
Great, so she can carry him around where she goes places. And I need to see a picture.
Yeah, we'll send it to you. Stat.
Okay, talking about dogs still. We got to see puppies, which is obviously probably not the most important part of this, but we got to see puppies at the stadium groundbreaking. And I was trying to convince Marley to let me take one, and he denied me my happiness.
Yes,
So
he did, but it was not a very rational decision. It was an emotional decision based on your love for the puppies, but not really one that you had thought all the way through.
What are rational decisions?
Don't ask me. I haven't made a rational decision since 1999.
Since 1992, popped out of the womb.
But the stadium groundbreaking was amazing.
It was amazing. We got to see so many amazing fans and meet everybody and see how much support there is in Kansas City.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see like all the renderings of the stadium because it's going to be lit.
Lit, literally.
And it was like a great event. We like signed some autographs. We got up on the stage to just grab attention, basically. And we thanked our owners and the fans for coming out. And Lynn had a guitar. It was odd. But it was really fun. It was a great event. The food was really good. It's always fun seeing the team outside of the facility. And there was a puppy booth.
I know, there was a puppy booth. I wanted to
So-
save all those puppies. But it was incredible. The whole event was such an amazing time. I feel like there was 1 million people there, so I hope everybody who went had some good food, a good show. Hopefully the puppies were adopted, and that's about it. So, what are you about to say?
I was just about to say to everybody to just hold on to your hats. And don't
keep
go anywhere.
listening. And keep listening.
Yeah. Briana Scurry is one of the most accomplished and impactful soccer players in the history of the sport. With the U.S. women's national team, she won 2 Olympic golds and the 1999 Women's World Cup, making a critical penalty save in the final. The first female goalkeeper and first black woman to be elected to the National Soccer Hall of Fame, Briana's story is one of triumph, setback, and redemption, and we are excited to talk to her about all of that today on this special episode of Snacks.
So, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Woo, I'm pumped. This is gonna
Yay.
be fun.
You live in D.C., correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we always usually start, or this season we have been starting with like some of your favorite activities, or like if you could have the perfect off day, what?
Yes.
Well, I don't really know what if you have an off day.
I have a lot more now than I did when I was with you guys.
But like, what would be your like perfect day, or like your perfect stops at DC?
So I absolutely love DC. When I played, it was one of my 3 favorite cities to play in. And so, especially in the spring, when the cherry blossoms in the tidal basin, downtown DC is fantastic. So going downtown and maybe getting a coffee at one of my favorite coffee shops, me and my wife going down there, maybe taking the dog for a little bit of a walk and getting some breakfast at a coffee shop, and then taking the dog over to the tidal basin when the cherry blossoms are blooming. Obviously incredibly crowded there, but going early enough before the crowd comes, and then heading back to the house here. We built a pool and essentially a backyard oasis in our backyard here. So pool, and then having friends over for dinner that evening, just nice little, bonfire and a nice little grill and a night swim would be a perfect
Ooh.
day.
Oh,
Fun.
a night
Yeah.
swim.
Night
What's your dog's name?
I knew you were gonna ask that. I go, we love dogs.
swim. Her name is Sunny Bucket.
Oh.
Yeah. She
Oh,
is
what
a Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever.
Well,
What is
that
that?
Sounds beautiful. But
we
I
need
do
to
not
get
know.
an image. We need to get an image, right?
There
here
is a
what
picture of
that.
Sunny in the book.
Oh my gosh. My book
Yep.
the book is in my bag. I'll have to go look.
She's in there.
Oh my
She's in
gosh.
there. She's awesome.
Beautiful. That sounds so
Yes.
fun. What a day that sounds like.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
No, ending.
Notice
with a
there's no
nice one?
soccer in it.
Yes. We noticed. I had just two other silly things to say about at the very beginning of this. They were supposed to be icebreakers, but the ice is already broken. I wanted to tell you, Bri, this is so embarrassing. My record in my first 3 U.S. Women's National Team caps was 0-3. I confirmed with Hype and everything. He says this has never happened to anybody except me.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah. I don't think the
0-3?
national team has, like, I think we've ever lost 3 games. Like, I feel like
It's
it
rare.
was so
Against-
crazy. He confirmed the dates and the opponents and the scores, and he goes, yep, you were 0-3. It was Brazil, Denmark, and Sweden in, like, 2014. I think maybe they were all in 2014.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Tough go.
It was a
Let
tough
Hyphus
go.
be the one to tell you to confirm that for you, though, right?
Yeah, I know. I was like, Hype, I'm trying to make a funny note for Snacks. Can you confirm some stats for me? And naturally, he had all the records handy.
He had it right
literally
there.
right then.
Oh my gosh.
And then I
Oh.
also just wanted to say, similarly to Lynn, my sister and I growing up were such huge fans of the 99ers. We had the tape of that game and several other games that you guys played on VHS. And we would just re-watch them. Like, we would go on these long road trips and re-watch the VHS tapes in this car TV my parents bought so that we could, like, we'd be driving 9 hours down the coast to go to some tournament and we'd watch the games over and over. But, like, we knew the commentary by heart. So I'd be, like, talking along with the commentators, like, during the game because we just watched it so many times. So I just wanted to tell you that you had a huge impact on me and my sister as well, you and all your teammates. And it was, I think, it feels so full circle now to have played for the national team and seen young girls' faces light up when they get to meet us and to know that I was one of them. So I wanted to share that with you as well.
Thanks for sharing that, because isn't that the most amazing thing?
It
when
really
those
is.
little girls come
It
up
is.
to you?
It is
It's
pretty.
really cool.
It's incredible. Like, I think you go about your day 99.9% of the time and you're just like, I'm just Lynn, I'm just Sam, I'm just Brian, and you don't think about it. And then you meet a little girl and they, like, either write you a message or they're bawling and you're like, oh my gosh. And then it, like, brings you back to a moment and you're like, holy crap, like, this is actually incredible.
Yeah.
And I used to do that. And yeah, like Sam said, it's full circle.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Oh, yay. See, because I'm always telling people, they're like, oh, well, you know, you haven't played for so long or whatever. But I'm like, we're sisters, you know, because we are always going to be connected to each other, because 96, 99 teams started, you know, visual, obviously, with being on TV and younger players seeing it. And then coming through, you know, 2012, you know, 2008, 2015 teams, you know, those teams were the kids that were in the stands when we were playing, and now they're playing and they're winning, and now people are watching them, and it just goes on and on. So we're all connected because we all saw the same thing in each other.
Yeah.
And then you end up doing it. I mean, it's quite an arc to be able to go from the little girl in the stands to being on the pitch.
Yeah.
It's a long way.
I feel like it takes a very unique brand of person to, especially to play for the team for a long time, like you did, and like Lynn and I are trying to do. You just have to really, like, put all you have into it. And I think there are such talented players or people with great opportunity, but you really have to have this certain sense of, like, do or die commitment to the team and to winning. And that's really what enables you to continue to get called back in. And I just think it's a really rare quality.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. It is incredibly rare. And the fact that we've won a title every cycle since cycles began.
It's crazy.
If you go back and
that's a
you
great
look, we
stat.
won either a World Cup or an Olympic Games every single cycle.
That is a crazy
Wow.
stat.
I'm surprised Hypus didn't tell you that one, because that's amazing.
No, not yet, but you did. So maybe we'll have to use that down the road again.
Use that. No pressure for the next cycle, just saying.
I did also just want to say, like, feeling connected. Obviously, we're connected because we're all on the national team, or we have all been on the national team, but I feel like I feel even more connected to like your generation because now I get what it took to do it. And I'm like, I understand every single person here had to go through a crazy triumph and trials and ups and downs and like Sam said, putting your all into it. And I think before I was on the national team, of course I was like, I want to be connected. I want to be a part of the team. But then once you're in it, and especially in it for some time, you're like, oh, I feel even more connected. Like I get it now. Like I understand why all these women are a little bit crazy.
Yes, we are.
And myself included.
Yes, you are. You are definitely included. You bet.
But we wanted to ask, now I'm going to go back into the real section. We went fun and then back this way.
Okay.
Obviously, like the fight for equality started with you guys. Mm-hmm. And we have still been fighting for equality, not just racial equality, but equal pay. Yes. So if you don't mind, could you tell us what you thought about like the equal pay lawsuit, considering that in the 90s, you guys refused to sign contracts as well that weren't equal? So like, what are your feelings now?
So in late 95, before the Olympics in 96, I was one of the 9 players that basically went on strike. 9 because we were the 9 players that were solid starters for the team, and we figured if anybody could stick their neck out, it should be us. And so US Soccer tried to call our bluff, and then we called their bluff, and then we wanted one thing in particular, which was, something other than a bonus if we won the whole thing. Like that was the standard back then. You have to win everything, which is still the standard, but it was a little bit more obvious back then. They didn't have any prize money for silver or bronze. And so that was one of the things we fought for. And we finally got them to cave and actually put something together for silver. So that was the beginning of it. And then your equal pay lawsuit, fast forwarding a couple decades, for me, taking it to that place with a lawsuit is a whole new chapter, was a whole new way to stick your neck out. It was a whole new thing because you guys put your names on, a legal document, and it's in the law, it's in the courts. And then that's a whole different way of doing it. And I was telling people left and right, that was just the next logical step. Unfortunately, because the Federation has been so adversarial all this time, that was the next step you had to take. And if you think about the path from my time to your time now, and then the signing of the documentation just recently here in DC, thank goodness, it's been a journey, and there's been different things, and the way and I say we because that's a sisterhood. Passing the baton from the 96 99ers to the next group to 2004 and 8 and 12. And then you guys come along and you guys do your bit. The equal pay lawsuit was just the next step to get it over the line. And then fortunately, Cindy Parlow-Cone, if you think about, gets elevated to president because the former president said something stupid about the lawsuit. And then you get someone in there who can get everybody together, and you guys fought through, and I can't even imagine how contentious that must have been, at that point, trying to get there. But I've been saying to people, for 30 plus years, the Federation has been fighting with either the men's team or the women's team all the time, either one or the other or both. And isn't it nice to finally have, some agreement? And now you can be unified like you should have been all along. And you can go forward and see what soccer can be in this country. But I was so proud. I thought it was a heck of a move to file that lawsuit and to put your necks on the line like that.
Yeah, I have been thinking a lot about your generation as we've been going through this process. And this might have been in the documentary. I'm not sure where I just recently heard this, but I feel like there must have been this kind of mirroring of like when we were all gathered in a room and we decided to file the lawsuit. I was really scared. I was like, oh no, like this is so terrifying. I don't know if I have enough standing or if I'm good enough to do this. Like, I don't know what if the federation is just like, well, now we're done with her if she's going to do this. And I think the idea is that maybe everybody had that feeling, but as long as we did it together, it was important enough to do it. And as long as we did it together, we would all have the same consequence, and the collectiveness of what we were doing would be strong enough to make what we wanted happen. And I feel like there must have been some mirroring with your group in that it's not that you weren't nervous or afraid to do it, but it was, you felt so strongly that it was the right thing to do and that it had to be done, that you all did it anyway. And as long as you were together, it would be okay. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're getting that exactly right. I was terrified.
Yeah.
I had just gotten on the team. So in late 95, I had only been on the team for like a minute, maybe a year and a half, 2 years at that point. And they were like, well, we're going to strike. And, just so you know, your Olympic dream is going to be on the line and you might get tossed off the team if we do this. I was like, oh, great.
Yeah. Well, it's like, oh, no. It's literally like, oh, no.
Well, I had like kind of similar too. Like 2016 was like the moment everybody started happening, and those were like my first caps, and I was like, what is happening? Like,
Yeah.
Right.
What's going on?
I think
Like, what do you mean?
I know.
I just got here.
You're right, exactly.
I think it just says so much, one, about the leadership, the vulnerability of being able to say, well, we're nervous too, but this is the right thing for the team. This is the right thing for the future. And I think about our leaders who helped us through that, Pino, Becky, Kristen, and how important it was to be able to look at somebody I trusted and just say, you have it. Like, this is my career. This is my job. This is my life. And like, I trusted them. We all did. Nobody doubted that they were leading us in the right direction. And I think that that's so cool. Do you have like vivid memories of having the same kind of situation?
I do have that. And also it's interesting because I remember when Becky Sauerbrunn first came on the team, and now she's just this outstanding, amazing leader. But I remember when Becky was, a little nervous about being on the team, and she had to do her thing and she first came in, but she understood, she had the quality, right? She understood that when you play on the women's national soccer team, it's not just about great soccer. It's not just about great football on the pitch. There's a dual mandate. That's what I call it, a dual mandate. The first is to play outstanding soccer on the pitch and to be a great example and representative of the game in this country for young girls everywhere. And the second one is to move the bar and move the envelope and push that envelope forward and get equality for this team and make an example of that. And so that's what you do when you accept that invitation to come into camp and you put that jersey on. You're putting that jersey on for both of those things. And so when young people come in, they're like, they're excited about to play their game, but it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's not the only thing we do here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Becky says this all the time. There's a responsibility to leave it better than you found it.
Exactly.
And I think that's such a cool way of putting it, as like a dual mandate of you have to play your best and you have to do the best.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I think it too, like you obviously as a person want to leave it the best, but when you're first on the team, you have to learn from the people in front of you. So there's this period of time where you're like, wait a second, like what is going on? I'm just, like you said, just trying to play soccer, and all these other people are like, we're going into battle. And then you get on a page and you're like, oh, and now after however many years you've been on the team, now I can fight for these people below me. So it is like a cool, I don't know, talking to you right now, it's so cool because I feel like we can see like generations of baton passing. And when you're in it, when you're in it, sometimes you kind of, it's not like you forget at all. You're just in battle. And then when you take a step back and you're able to talk to people who have done it before you, you're like, this is actually a pretty incredible, very, very long race that we have been running.
Yes. Right? Isn't it? And when you in the very far future, when the two of you retire and hang up your boots, which won't be for a long time, you will look back on it like I have and be like, you know what, that sisterhood of being on this team has really changed a lot of things in this country for a lot of people other than just those of you that were doing it at the time. because a lot of people see the example. If you look at international soccer, you have teams from all over the world, women's teams fighting because they saw us doing it, and they're doing it and they're thinking they can too. And that is a ripple effect that you never would have thought you could have made just when you first come in your first couple of camps. And I also love the point you made, Lynn, about when you first come in, you're not expected to really understand that. You're just expected to just say, okay, you know, I don't really know what to do, but I will trust. I will trust what you say. And I don't know quite sure how I feel about it. And if you're scared, that's okay too. So whatever you feel around this, it's understandable and it's okay. And then as you come back into camp, when you're there for a couple of years, then you start to get a little bit more responsibility on that other stuff other than just playing great soccer. And then over time, like you both are already, you know, finding out, you become a leader in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine when you first came in. Now you're both leaders in very dynamic ways for not only yourselves, but for other young people to come behind you.
So I'm getting chills.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is very cool. This is a very special episode, I feel
I
like.
know. I feel like we're talking about very deep stuff, but I can't stop smiling because I'm just so excited. I'm so excited.
I know.
Good.
It's really cool. Bri, do you watch the team's games now?
Yes, I do. And I think you guys are amazing. And it's so funny because my stepson came in just before this. I was watching the Spain game, and he's like, "Oh, you know, USA isn't winning, and that's really weird, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is really weird." But I said it's okay because you have to get grabbed by the scruff of the neck before you understand what you really actually need to do. Mm-hmm. And the fact that this is happening now with these two teams is the perfect time for this to happen now. So now you can look at it and dissect it and get your heads right and do what needs to be done for the next, 8 months. You know what I mean? And now you have a roadmap. But if you don't, I feel like if you don't lose sometimes, you can't understand it. It's almost a necessity.
Yeah, it's the best way to learn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that makes so much sense. I feel like when you have so much success, you don't examine any faults or mistakes as much, and it's losing, or I mean, in more broader terms, like in life, adversity is what makes you grow and change and overcome and realize what you're capable of. So I think that losing in soccer is such a perfect way to take that opportunity to learn from.
Absolutely. It helps you brings out the microscope when you lose. Mm-hmm. You win a lot, you don't necessarily look at it and you think, oh, well, we're good. But when you lose, you basically dissect everything, which is, and the things are probably there before when you win games, but you don't necessarily look at them as closely as you do when you've had a time when it's not so good. And the fact that you guys are still able to win, for example, the qualifiers with, literally double-digit players injured. I mean, holy cow. So for me, that's really exciting, I think. The fact that you guys are able to win as often as you do with so many of you coming back from, pregnancy or injury or whatever it is. That's very encouraging, in my opinion.
Do you always, like, when you're watching, do you always, like, analyze, or sometimes you just watch to, like...
I don't know. I'm sorry. It's you can't just watch. I
know. It's really hard.
We know.
It's really hard. No, can't do it. Can't try.
I know.
Doesn't work.
I know.
Do you find yourself analyzing, like, on the field stuff more, or, like, keeper stuff?
Mostly defensive. So back line, keeper especially, but back line as well. Not so much attacking stuff, because I think the attacking pieces are there. You guys are phenomenal attack wise. I think just the connection part with midfield to the defense and the goalkeeping is where I usually look and dissect.
Very interesting.
That is interesting.
As I'm sure you've heard, Lynn and I are big pod listeners ourselves. We found a show you women's sports fans won't want to miss.
Tune in to season 3 of Flame Bearers to hear from women Olympians and Paralympians from around the world. Becky Sauerbrunn Sue Bird, Dutch wheelchair tennis player, Didi de Grout, and maybe even some snacks appearances will be part of this new season.
Hear directly from these masters of grit and resilience to learn about the issues that matter most to them and how they've been able to overcome obstacle after obstacle. During these challenging times, these women are an endless source of hope and inspiration.
Get ready to be inspired as season 3 just launched. Listen to Flame Bearers wherever you get your podcasts.
You so kindly sent us your book, and we have been reading it, and we wanted to just hear a little bit more about what that whole process was like and how it came about.
Yes, well, I tell you what, when you decide to write a book, both of you, someday, just know you got to be all in, because it is a labor of love going and writing a book. So about 2019, I've had a book in me first of all, I've had a book in me for 20 years. And I just never did it, was never in a good place to do it. And in 2019, I sat down with my wife and my publicist, and we were like talking about it. And they said, we think it'd be a good time. And I had to sit down and decide whether or not I was ready, because I've had some real difficult things happen in my life. And, sometimes, those things are still painful, even though they're in your past. And so I realized that I was ready to talk about them in an authentic and real way, and not just about the good stuff, because it's easy to write a book about all the wonderful things in your life and kind of just blow past the not so wonderful things. But I felt like I had to be true to all of it. And so I was ready. Once we decided that, then we embarked on a journey to find an author to write with me, which is Wayne Coffey, who is Sam Coffey's dad. And also finding a publicist and publisher and all that cool stuff. And so Wayne and I started the book in March 2020, and it took almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a crazy time to have started it too. I feel like maybe it was a good thing that you started it then?
See, that's the interesting thing. You would think that, because it's like, oh, well, you're locked down for literally the first 6 months with no vaccines and all that, and everybody was stuck. And what else would you do if not write a book? But apparently it was a real hindrance, because normally Wayne and I wanted to do these interviews with like friends and family, person to person, face to face.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't possible. I mean, if you remember that first 6 months, no one was going anywhere. And New York in particular, which is where he lived, was not locked down, like tight, if you remember.
Wow.
And so it actually kind of delayed it a little bit, which is why it took you 2 years. So yeah, the opposite happened.
Wow. Do you feel like when you were writing, because obviously, like you said, you didn't want to just talk about the happy times, you want to talk about like all the sad parts, that all of the emotion of 2020 on top of that was, do you feel like it helped you like dive into that more, or do you feel like it was more of like a hindrance of like, how do I put all this energy into the book when all these other things are happening?
Actually, 2020, the pandemic and then subsequent murder of George Floyd really solidified my resolve to do this. I felt so strongly and emotionally torn about George Floyd, not only because of what happened and how it happened and watching, that 8 minutes plus on a video, but it was Minneapolis, which is where I'm from. And so it was really an eye-opening event, and then all the unrest that happened after that. And so that time frame was really helpful, actually, in grounding me into wanting to tell my story, because stories need to be told. Changes need to be made. The country was, the world was undergoing this pandemic, and then our country was basically tearing itself apart with all this social injustice, and it just wasn't right. And so I felt like real dedication, actually, to do my book well and to get it out there and to do it right.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. That's incredible. I know that reading it and then also watching The Only has had a huge impact on Lynn and I. And we actually wrote down to tell you this and talk about this a little bit, because it was in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder that we wanted to start this podcast. And Lynn and I went through, I feel like, most of 2020 together. And we started having these like more difficult conversations about race. Obviously, I'm white, Lynn is black. And I think we both I learned so much from Lynn, and I think that we both really valued being able to have those open conversations during that time, because it was, I think, a time where some people were hiding from talking about it. So I just personally, I think, wanted to say how important that time was for me, and how this podcast was kind of born out of that and wanting to have these conversations. So we are very honored to have you on and to be able to discuss that and continue that conversation. And we wrote down actually later in our questions about your personal experience in 2020 during the pandemic with the racial reckoning that went on. So the fact that you already brought it up, I think, is very telling about how meaningful this conversation could be. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for saying that. And it's interesting that you two had more meaningful conversations, because I also had a bunch of my teammates, reaching out to me, wanting to, not knowing exactly how or what they wanted to say, but they knew they wanted to say something. And they, if nothing other than, I just, can we just talk? I don't know. I really feel like I want to talk to you about these things, because when you go back and look at my story, I think a lot of them thought about, maybe seeing things differently now through how I dealt with stuff, and being, one of the few African-American players on my team, the only one that was had a good and a solid position on the team, a lot of basically being the only out player at the time, also all these things. And they didn't really notice it or didn't realize it until after the George Floyd thing, where they were like, holy shit, we want to talk to Bri about some things. Or they were feeling, just this feeling in their gut, and they didn't really know, and they knew it had something to do with the race card, and they didn't know what it was or what it meant or how to, and they're like, hey, Bri, can we talk to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had that a lot as well.
Yeah, I feel like, well, one, you were the first person who I saw who looked like me on the national team. And so for me to see that, I played soccer and ran track, but with soccer, I loved it so much. But it didn't necessarily look like a space for me. But when I saw you, I was like, oh, I can do this too. If she could do this, I can do this. So one, I just wanted to thank you for being a trailblazer in that sense. But I don't know if you felt like this, but I feel like a lot of my journey and a lot of my path, you realize as a Black person that you're going through it, but because it happens so often, you push it down and you don't talk about it. So for when 2020 happened, I felt Sam wanted to know a lot. I didn't necessarily know what to say either, but I felt so safe and in such a safe space that I had a friend that was willing to have conversations with me and wanting to get to know things and saying Lynn, I want to support you. I want to support all Black people. And even though I don't know exactly what to say, I need to do something. And my advice to Sam was then do something. Even if it's just reposting somebody else's words that resonate with you, that's better than doing nothing. But I just felt so safe and so heard when I had Sam wanting to even have these conversations. So this isn't even in our script, but did you feel that same way when your teammates would reach out? Because I do know some people felt why do I have to explain this to everybody? Go educate yourself. And that was part of it, of course.
Sure.
And Sam did that, and a lot of other people did that. They're oh, I want to educate myself. This doesn't always fall on you. But I felt like this was finally a moment where I was being heard. So did you feel that same way? Or were you oh, absolutely, there's too many people calling me. What the heck?
But I felt like I was finally being heard. I really did. And it was interesting because I felt through the George Floyd situation, I felt myself an opening come in myself that was available. And then my teammates also opened up, and then they were like, Bri, can we talk? And instead of saying no, I was like, yes, let's talk, because I was open to it. For I think the reason, because for me, it was so, I just cried. I watched the video and I cried. And I knew that area. I was born in Minneapolis and I lived there for 5 years. when I was younger, and I would go back to Minneapolis in that area, all the time to see my family. And so to see these locations that were burning, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I was like, well, this is what it's going to take right now for something. It was enough. And I'd heard over the years about that Minneapolis Fire Department and police department, all these different struggles that they've had with the community. And I was open to it. And I think people wanted to ask me, what's it like to live there? How are you feeling? Like, like you said, how can I help? What can I do? Like, I feel like I have to do something. They're not even quite sure what it was. And so I was open to it. I felt for the first time they were actually asking me real questions, that we could have a real conversation finally.
Yeah, it definitely, I think you start to think about yourself. You're like, okay, I felt this as a person, but now how do I relay what I'm feeling in a way that's going to actually help and make positive change instead of shutting down again. You're like, this is, I feel like for a lot of people, it's like, this is the moment to actually be heard. We've been trying to say it for a while and nobody's hearing. And finally now people are listening. So, yeah, I just wanted to know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I felt a lot of different things, but definitely similar to what you said.
Do you, like, what is there anything you wish you had known in your playing days? Do you have advice for players like us or even listeners who maybe are like young, aspiring national teamers?
It's funny because when I look at, for example, the documentary, I saw myself as young Bri, with the team. And for the longest time, I always felt like, I should have had more fun when I was playing and goofing around and stuff. And then I was like, you know what, I kind of did. I think because my memory of it is different than being able to see it again, after all this time. And my thing for the longest time was I wish I had been more present in the off the field stuff and taken more, more interest and more, having more fun. But I think I actually did. I did have a lot of fun. So that's good.
Awesome. That's great. I'm so grateful to some of my friends on the team, like Rose and Sonnet are like such goofballs that like, even when I'll be like stressed and like want to be alone in my room, they'll like come and make me have fun. Yeah. And like Rose would like always like stay in my room so late at night and we would just be like sitting there goofing off and like doing nothing. And I feel like those are actually my most fun memories. Like I could forget what happened in a game, but we have these like ridiculous stories that have happened in camp because I feel like when you have strong friendships like that, you're kind of always enjoying that. So I feel really grateful to the relationships I've made on the team and how much fun I've had, even though I'm kind of like a stressed person.
That's what you'll miss when you retire. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
As those fun times when you goofed around or, at training and after training, all those times on the bus and those in between the stuff that you're there for, that's the stuff you miss.
Yeah. I was just saying that to Sam, like, obviously we're both injured right now. And I got to, with Casey, I got to go on a road trip because somebody wasn't able to stay here to do my rehab. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about all the little things. Like I forgot about all the fun hotel craziness with the girls and just like the silly things and like forced eating together. But those are like sometimes the best conversations come out of that.
Yes.
And
they really do. I just like have to talk about something at dinner. And it's like, all right, well, we're not going to sit here in silence. So, like, somebody tell their first kiss.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just, like, stupid.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And then you're like, or I think somebody recently talked about how, like, they were scammed. And I was like, how? Like, how did that happen to you?
Tell me everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, I missed that. And so I think you're right. Like, obviously, I mean, hopefully not retiring anytime soon, not going. But, we'll miss the field, but it's those moments where you're like, oh, I just miss being around the girls.
Yeah, the energy, and in particular, and being injured, longer term is kind of similar. Like you you miss the everyday rhythm of things because you're off trying to rehab, you know, and you're trying to you have a new rhythm because you're trying to get back, and you miss some of that stuff. And so it's nice that you could travel that, you know, that time because you remember it then, you know.
Yeah. Now that you've been out and retired for a bit, and like you said, you'll miss that. Have you found that in another place, or with another group of people? Anything like in another avenue?
Well, actually, you know, I think part of the reason why I love my wife so much is because she just makes me laugh. Like, she is so funny. She's sarcastic. She'll just say stupid stuff and I will just laugh out loud. And those are the things that I used to get a lot from the team, because back in the day, similar to your situation now with your league teams, you spend a lot of time together, you know, a lot, you know. And so your BFFs are your teammates because there really isn't a whole lot of time for anyone else. Unless you had the friends that you made off the pitch, you know, that, you know, for years. So it's hard to have other friends because you're gone so much. So having her, and she makes me laugh. Like, it's honestly one of the best things about her. And she'll say something, you know, sarcastic under her breath about something we're watching on TV. And I will just laugh, and we just laugh. And I think that's, you know, that's part of what makes our marriage amazing. And I'm very lucky to have that, because, you know, you don't realize how much you love humor until you've been without it for a while, and it comes back. So.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I feel like we got like a 2-in-1 life lesson.
I know. I do too. Bri, I think we are almost about to move on, but I wanted to just ask one more thing.
Sure.
That's maybe kind of I don't know about a summary, but I'm interested in if you have, like, what you've been through a lot in your career and in your life since your career. And I'm just curious if you have one area or several areas of, like, advocacy that you're most passionate about. If there was something particularly that you wanted to raise awareness about or have more people know or really fight for, can you pick something out?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, because it picked me out. So my career ended from concussion, and, you know, obviously traumatic brain injury, so TBI. And the 3 years I suffered from that concussion, trying to get better care and getting misdiagnosed, and people telling me I should be fine by now and all this stuff. And it was really, really hard for me. It was literally, you know, 12 years ago. But I think the advocacy piece with the TBI is, you know, women who have domestic violence situations happen to them. A lot of times those women get hit in the head, or they get their head slammed into the wall or into the ground. And, you know, a lot of people don't believe them in their symptoms. And so that's the advocacy I've been doing, I'd say, for the last 10 years, for the most part, just around concussion and traumatic brain injury. And then of late, I've stretched it out into, you know, the mental health piece, basically. And so talking about that more, you know, depression and, you know, just, you know, being burnt out and, you know, these emotional feelings that a lot of people have. And obviously I'm not the only athlete that feels that way, although I was talking about it years ago. But now, you know, you've seen Simone Biles talk about it. You've seen Naomi Osaka talk about the mental health piece. You know, all different athletes, Michael Phelps talking about it a lot more. And so that's the area that I do a lot of advocacy in now. And I think it's really, really valuable, especially with regards to high level professional athletes. You know, we have these, everything seems great all the time from the outside looking in at it, but it's not. And you need to realize that sometimes you need a break, and that's okay if you need one. And the fact that you are brave enough to say, you know, I need time, I need help, you know, that's a commendable thing. And so I do a lot of advocacy around that.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That was really, really great. I also just wanted to, if our listeners don't have your book yet, did you have like a little plug you could give?
I do have a plug I can give.
Oh, yeah.
Plug it!
So yes, my book is called My Greatest Save. And you can find it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but especially on Amazon. My book is literally a colorful description of my journey, of the ups and the downs and all the behind the scenes things that occurred when I played on and off the pitch. It is a truly, truthful and very colorful and honest look at someone who was at the top of the mountain several times and into the deepest valleys several times, and how I came out of it. And so I think what I love about my book is it's a real indication and depiction of resilience over many, many years. And I think right now in this day and age, a lot of people could use a triumphant story like that.
I agree. If you guys haven't read it and you don't have it, you should get it now. You're like a true inspiration. And I think that there's a lot that people can take out of the book, even if you're not a soccer player or an athlete at all. So people, go get your books.
Yeah. Look at Lynn promoting reading.
Sam told me reading. There's an audiobook version too. I did. So.
Oh yeah. Sam called me illiterate one time, so that was not nice.
My own voice.
It's not nice.
Oh, it's in your own voice. That's amazing.
Oh, yes. You're reading it.
I am. Yes.
That
was an adventure in and of itself. So yes.
Sure it was.
Yeah. How long did that take?
It took 8 days, 40 hours to do 8 hours of actual audiobook. So 5 times the amount. Yeah.
Were you drinking tea with honey?
Yes. Tea, very, very important, because with an audiobook, after reading like that, your voice goes.
Yeah.
And when your voice starts to go, you're done. You're done for the day. Yeah. And so that's why it took so long. Lots of tea.
Wow.
Lots of tea.
We're learning so much.
I know. With my weak vocal cords, it would have taken me years.
I'm telling you, you'd be surprised how fast your voice goes when you're reading like that.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, we're going to do a little fun section, okay?
Okay.
So, our sponsors at Flame Bearer host some of the most resilient athletes on the planet. So, we're going to do a nod to these athletes with some GOAT trivia. So, we're going to give you their accolades, and you take a guess with their name. So, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, where do we start with this athlete? This 4-time WNBA champion has also been a leading force on the national women's basketball team, leading them to 6 gold medals beginning in 2004 in Athens.
Super.
Yay! You got that so fast, Brian. You know what? Everybody else has struggled. We did Taylor Smith last week, and the answer was us. It was Lynn and Sam, and it took us like 15 minutes. I'm
First
like
of all,
not even kidding.
We stumbled over our own accolades, and then Taylor couldn't guess who it was.
So we were like, your own accolades? That's awesome. I love it.
It was ridiculous. But so yes, the answer was Sue Bird, and to learn more, everyone head over to the Flame Bearers podcast.
Nice.
All right, so now this is my favorite part of the podcast. Somebody's calling me.
Oh my goodness, Lynn.
You're
the most popular woman in the world.
You guys, that was spam. So I don't know if you guys have been getting a lot of spam calls, but it's ridiculous. Anyway.
Yes, I have.
This is my favorite part of the podcast, where we just have a little fun and pepper our guests with some random questions. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to play the game Start, Bench, Cut.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Okay.
Me, you, Sam. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. Pancakes, waffles, French toast.
Oh, waffles, start, French toast, bench, pancakes, cut.
Interesting.
I'm starting French toast, benching pancakes, cutting waffles.
Really?
Sam, I'm doing the same thing.
As me?
Yeah.
Really?
Nice. French toast.
Waffles.
What do you have against French toast?
Yeah, I guess
Good
nothing.
question.
2 and 3 is hard.
Yeah.
I maybe will call waffles back in, depending. But French toast is my clear number 1.
Understood.
I just feel like I've had more crusty waffles than I have crusty pancakes.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Like in a hotel banquet.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, wait
Buffet?
till you guys start, no longer eating the hotel banquet food. You might
All
feel
right.
differently.
All right,
Well-
fair enough.
We'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, start, bench, cut, burger, pizza, nachos.
Start pizza, bench burger, cut nachos.
I agree.
I agree too.
Yay.
Go
That's-
us.
Okay. Espresso, latte, frappe.
Espresso, start, latte, bench, frappe, cut.
Okay, I would start a latte, then espresso, and then cut a frappe.
Same.
Mhm.
I don't like what even is a frappe? That's like an ice cream.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
No, I don't think so either. Okay,
Okay.
Bri, do you watch The Office?
Yes.
Okay. Start, bench, cut, Jim, Dwight, Andy.
Jim, start, Dwight, bench, Andy, cut.
I agree.
She
I
Andy.
agree.
Same.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta.
Yeah, Andy's got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Dwight and Jim, they, I could see Dwight starting on occasion,
Oh.
just because he's so goofy.
He
like,
is
it's
so
just
goofy.
so.
I mean, he
So
does
goofy.
kind of like without his character, you're like, what is happening?
Right.
Yeah, you
So-
need Dwight and Jim out there together playing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
They're a dynamic duo.
Yes.
Okay. Red wine, beer, gin and tonic.
Red wine, start, beer, bench, gin and tonic, cut.
I know we went straight for like aggressive gin and tonic.
Gin
Maybe-
and tonic can not even exist and I'll be fine.
Now,
I don't
if
think
you
I've
said,
ever even had one.
if you said margarita,
Oh.
Okay. Red wine, beer, margarita then.
margarita, start, red wine, bench, beer,
Ooh.
cut. Yeah.
Okay, now that we're here, I have to tell this story about Sam
Oh
and,
no.
and margaritas.
This was
Okay.
this was during COVID.
Okay, so,
So,
it's during
so
COVID.
give me a break.
So we're during
Okay.
COVID. We're kind of, it's in the middle where we're like, when is this going to be over?
Right.
So Sam sees a recipe of coconut, what was it? Coconut margarita?
Yeah.
Okay, a coconut margarita. She goes, let's make this. So we go to the store, we get all the ingredients for this margarita. We make it. I'm like, great. Sam takes
This was
one
like
sip.
our event of the whole day.
Yeah.
Was to make this margarita. So we
Right.
went to multiple stores.
And it wasn't just like putting like coconut flavor. Like you had to like make it.
Make,
We
I
blended
understand.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Yes.
we made it. It took us all
Right.
day.
You had all day back then, so.
Yeah, literally.
She takes one sip of it and goes, ew, I hate tequila. I hate this. I'm sorry. Why on earth are we making a margarita then if you hate tequila?
I don't know.
Were you aware that you didn't like tequila, Sam?
Yeah, tequila has always like given me the shivers.
Okay. Okay. So,
Like
all
I'll
right.
I'll like smell tequila and I'll go, ugh.
So you're hoping the coconut would overwhelm the sense of smell?
I don't really know like what I thought was gonna happen.
Sometimes you just lose your brain cells.
I
during
lost my
COVID.
brain. It did not work out. I didn't drink it.
That's what
Did
we
you,
like to
Lynn?
call.
Did
Of
you
course
drink?
I
Did
did.
you drink
I
alone?
love
Yeah.
I love tequila margaritas.
See. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I made
That's
it for
mine.
you. I made it for you then, Lynn.
Sam will like anytime we go to dinner, these fancy dinners or
Mm-hmm.
like Corvino, Sam's like, "Ooh, let's try this like new wine," which I like wine,
Yes.
but she goes, "You're a crazy person because I'll just try any cocktail." I'm like, "Where's the cocktails?"
Yeah, I think it's so wild. She'll get like a gin and vermouth cocktail, and I'm like, that's gonna give me the shivers.
I'm like, "We're at a fancy place. They must be good."
Yeah. Some people don't like liquor, though.
Yeah.
You sound like you're one of those people.
I am.
Yeah, my
I
wife
am.
doesn't either. My wife will drink beer and red wine, and that is it.
That's
Yeah,
Sam.
I like soft alcohols.
Yep.
a lot of soft is what. She,
Okay, let's move on, Lynn, to the fan questions.
oh wait, no, we have one more question.
Oh,
Okay.
No show socks, crew socks, calf length socks, calf length.
No show, start, crew, bench, half calf length cut.
You're starting a no-show?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
We don't know the style that's why we're asking, is because it's like a mystery to us.
Why wear them at all if they're not showing? Is that the question?
Well, no. I don't think that. I don't know if that. I don't even know what the question is.
I just think I recently heard that crew socks are going out of style, and I said, why? I love crew socks.
You're going to keep them in style.
Yeah, like kind of not too long because I have massive calves, so I can't accentuate those too much. But like, I don't want my ankles showing.
I don't know what I
Do you
think.
not like your ankles?
No, there's nothing wrong with my ankles. I think they're normal now that I'm looking at them. I just don't know. I just think I also have long legs, I think. So I think I need a little, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. That's why we're asking you.
Yeah, we don't even know the question, let alone the answer.
Well, so the no-show socks have little like rubber
Grippies.
strips. Yeah, to grip your heel so they don't slide underneath. That's the only annoying part, but they're awesome if you're wearing them in the right way. So there it is.
Great advice. Great answer.
I'm here for you guys. I'm here for you.
Okay. I love that. So before we wrap up every interview, we give our listeners the chance to ask their own question. And don't forget, if you want to send us your questions, tweet us with the hashtag AskSnacks. So at Oliver Hunt, AskSnacks, what are your favorite comfort shows? Sorry, Oliver.
Comfort shows.
Yeah, and then they go on to say, love the podcast, thrilled that you guys are back. I re-listen to your show when I'm feeling down, and it helps. So thank you so much, Oliver.
That is very nice.
Yeah.
But the question is, what are your comfort shows?
I really love The Office, actually. So it's funny you asked a question about that.
Love The Office.
Okay, this one's gonna be a little cray probably. Sister Wives.
Oh.
Okay. Honestly, I can get around that.
Sister Wives.
TLC, I can get around some TLC shows.
Yeah, that's one.
I like that.
I like to binge period pieces. So actually, I really did like The Crown.
Yeah.
Oh, The Crown is good.
Yeah.
The Crown is good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, what about you?
Well, when The Office went off Netflix, I struggled because it's just not as easy. Like I think I'll get like a short show. So like it's The Office or like 30 Rock or like there's a show called Community, and I'll like get into those again and rewatch them and like turn them on when I'm falling asleep. So like shows like that.
Yeah, same. I feel like I just watch like what's on Netflix, and so when there's not like a group of new shows that are out, I struggle. I'm like, why? But I do love some TLC shows because those are crazy. Like Smothered. Have you guys seen that?
Yes, that's where the mother and the daughter, or the mother and the son,
Are too close.
Way too close. Yeah, that's kind of
You are TLC girls.
I am. Yeah.
Wow. That's fun that you have that in common.
Wow, crazy.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay, we have one other question from Loop at Lupiza something. What is the weirdest combination of food that you absolutely adore?
Ooh. Cheetos and chocolate milk. But only on road trips.
Cheetos and chocolate milk.
I could get around that.
Like, not hot ones, like normal ones?
Cheetos in the bag and chocolate milk, but only when I'm driving. It's kind of weird.
Only when she's driving on road trips.
On road trips. I always thought it was weird, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the salty of the Cheeto.
Yeah, and the sweet.
And the chocolate milk, a little bit sweet, but it also kind of like, how milk kind of like, it's like almost like matted or muted or whatever, like the taste of milk. And then I'm driving and I'm just like, I'm drinking,
Yeah.
So the milk is like a little palate cleanser, and then you get a burst of Cheeto again.
Yes.
I know what you mean.
Exactly, but only
I
when
know
I'm
what you
driving.
My
So there you
tummy
go.
could never. My stomach could never do that.
Lynn is a sensitive girl.
Are you a sensitive stomach? I understand that.
I mean, I don't not eat the food, but I just couldn't do that on a road trip. It'd be terrible.
It would be
Oh,
terrible.
It'd be a disaster.
Oh dear.
I only do it on a road trip. I can't do it at home. I'm just like, nah.
Yeah.
I know
That's
it's
so
weird.
funny.
The things you'll do like in an airport, like the things you'll eat in an airport or in a car that you're like desperate, it's like pretty
Yeah.
wild.
It's
But
like
when
that.
you're home in a routine, you're like, I can't believe I would ever do that.
Right. Plus, you girls are still like, trying to maintain your fitness, and I'm no longer doing that. So there's that small little piece for
That's
me
fair.
anyway.
That
That's
is
fair.
fair. That is fair.
Hello, I'm Briana Scurry, and this is the Snacks podcast from Just Women Sports.
Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Our show is produced by Just Women Sports. For more great sports content, go to justwomensports.com. Be sure to subscribe to the newsletter and follow along on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm Lynn Williams.
And I'm Sam Mewis. You've been listening to Snacks.
Yay!
Thanks for tuning into Snacks. While you may have wrapped up an episode with our guest today, be sure to head over to our friends at Flame Bearers, where you can hear top women Olympians and Paralympians reflect on their accomplishments, share their trials and triumphs, and discuss what life is like outside the games when the spotlight isn't on.
Get ready to be inspired as season 3 just launched. Listen to Flame Bearers wherever you get your podcasts.